Yambi that I look forward to reading out. Many years ago when I was still growing and there were newsreaders on radio, they would read about those Butros, Kheli, those other ones. Even rebels like, let me not say names of the rebels, but look, names that they've got sweet melody and they rhyme. You really want to associate with such names like His Excellency, Dr. MOKGWEETSI, Eric, Cabbage, then MASISI. It's a name that you want to call out and feel so good. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. Now remarks from the WIPO Director General, Mr. Darren Tang.
Your Excellency, Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI, President of the Republic of Botswana, and let me join the other speakers in writing on the protocols. Good morning. It is a great honor to join all of you for the 19th session of the Aripo Council of Ministers in this handsome and modern city of Gaborone. And let me begin by congratulating my dear friend, DG Dwabisi, on the successful 47th session of the Aripo Administrative Council, whose decisions impact not just in one country, but across 22 countries. I also want to thank the Minister, Ziambi, for chairing the Council of Ministers, and congratulate the incoming chair, Minister Mumusi Gafela, and wish you all the best as you take the helms of this important organization. I also want to recognize my many brothers and sisters in the audience. We in the IP community are close. We are like a family. So I cannot fail but to recognize all of them here in this beautiful morning. Let me start by also warmly thanking the President and the Government of Botswana, and of course not failing to mention our colleagues at SIPA for your warm hospitality and excellent arrangements. I had the honor of meeting the President in Geneva in May at WIPO headquarters, and it's a sign of our closeness to Botswana and the region that we're together again. This is the third time in a year, Excellency, that we're meeting, and I've met you the most of any head of state in the world, so I'm very happy to see you again. I think Namibia is a bit jealous, so I better hold back a little bit. But when I met President MASISI in Geneva earlier this year, he shared an insight which has remained with me ever since, and I want to share this with you. He told me that while Botswana is blessed with diamonds, the real diamonds are the ideas of his people, and he wants to build an IP ecosystem that allows these diamonds to be brought into the light where they can truly sparkle. I cannot agree more wholeheartedly, nor could I have put it more memorably. Africa is indeed blessed with the richness of your land and natural resources, but Africa's future will increasingly be blessed by the ideas and ingenuity of your people. And this transformation is already underway. First, startups, SMEs, and inventiveness is growing, and venture capital is flowing into the region. Venture capital deals grew by almost 50% in Africa last year, despite the global venture capital crunch. In fact, Africa was alone in avoiding a decline in VC investments in 2022. So this year, capital has continued to pour into homegrown startups from your region, like Degas from Ghana, WeLike from Madagascar, Yellow from Malawi, and Emata from Uganda, just a few that I'm naming, with each of these firms active in areas like agri-tech and green technology, all critical to putting the UN Sustainable Development Goals back on track. Second, as we saw this morning, Africa is a land of immense heritage, culture, and creative resources. And African creators are taking these traditional resources and traditional cultural expressions and transforming them into a new African cultural renaissance. Think about Nollywood or Gollywood. Think about Afrobeats. Already, Africa's creative industries generate over $4 billion in revenue, and this is just the beginning. And this is why Netflix has invested $160 million in African content in recent years, and Sony has launched a new innovation fund for the continent's entertainment startups. Third, in trade and economic connectedness, Africa is driving its own new chapter through the African Continental Free Trade Area, which will leverage 1.4 billion people into an economy that's already $3 trillion and will only grow. And fourth, I cannot fail but mention the institutions you put in place, like Aripo, which for the last over 30 years has been working so hard to build the IP infrastructure in Africa, and I believe will continue being such an influential force for many, many years to come. So let me put on record WIPO's full support for Aripo. Driven by these and other trends, intellectual property continues to shift from the periphery to the center of Aripo economies, serving not just as a legal right, but increasingly as a powerful catalyst for jobs, entrepreneurship, investments, growth, and sustainable economic and social development. Indeed, African patent filings reached their highest level in more than 20 years last year. Over the past 10 years, only patent filings in Asia have grown faster. Other filings through Aripo are also performing well. Trademark applications grew by 13%, and design applications by almost 50%, driven by a strong rise in many of these by homegrown African innovators. These numbers tell a story of growth in IP filings, but what is interesting and encouraging is that other data backs up these trends as well. Just a few months ago, WIPO released the results of a survey of 25,000 people all over the world, laypersons, about attitudes towards IP. Interestingly, it showed that those in Africa, laypersons by the way, so not IP experts, not IP experts, laypersons in Africa have the highest awareness of trademarks in the world, and a more positive attitude towards IP than those surveyed from Europe or North America. All these are signs and indications that innovation, creativity, technology, and entrepreneurship are increasingly driving African dreams, ambitions, hopes, and desires. And that is why we, in the global and regional IP community, must not be content with business as usual, but we must instead transform the global IP ecosystem to turn these dreams into reality. IP officers in the region are listening to the ground and are themselves transforming from IP regulators and registries to innovation catalysts and agencies. WIPO is excited to be with you on this journey and to support you throughout. I'm pleased to share that we are supporting 7 Aripo members to develop, implement, and update national IP strategies. And soon, 20 Aripo members, almost all, will use iPass, our IP administration software that we provide for free to help IP officers in Aripo region become fully digital. Beyond strengthening the IP infrastructure in your countries, we are also delivering concrete, impactful projects to support those innovating and creating at the grassroots levels in your country. We have launched over 90 impact-driven projects around the world in the past 2 years, many of them in Aripo member states. These include supporting women entrepreneurs in agribusiness, training and mentoring for youth and SMEs, bringing IP closer to traditional medicine practitioners, and supporting local handicraft and knowledge through IP-driven projects. And the best way of bringing all this alive is to share the stories of those we are reaching on the ground. And very quickly, I want to tell the story of someone from Botswana who is running this company called Oliphant Market Garden. Her name is Babui Naipetsi. I hope I didn't massacre the name. And she runs a farming business here, and she's one of the 6 women from the 16 Aripo member states that's part of our new coaching and mentoring program on agribusinesses. Babui told us that recent years have been tough. She expanded her business only for the pandemic and bad weather to disrupt it. But her entrepreneurial spirit continues to shine bright. Now, as well as seeing how IP can help her to brand, market, and package her products, she's also, through this program, networking with peers from Ghana, Malawi, Zimbabwe, whose products have a market in Botswana. And as Babui told us, I'll quote her, "I call it a dream come true. Being in a room with women from different African countries, all doing something new, I saw the opportunity for Africa to trade with itself," close of quote. This is the impact that WIPO and Aripo wants to have on the ground, but we cannot do it alone. This is why partnerships are at the heart of our approach, and that's why we are proud of our close and long-standing cooperation with our friends and colleagues at the Aripo Secretariat, as well as the individual Aripo member states. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, let us continue to work together to bring IP to the grassroots, build a more balanced and inclusive global IP ecosystem, and ensure that it works for everyone everywhere and leaves no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director General of WIPO, World Intellectual Property Organization, Re Darenten. One more time, a round of applause for him, please. Thank you so much. So when there's a tongue twist on, instead of saying WIPO, I said WIPO is because there's a Aripo instead of Aripo. So, so it's okay, we can live with it. Ladies and gentlemen, those that know, they say poetry is like condensed milk, while prose is plain milk. That is why when we have our poets and they give their renditions, we marvel in the score because there's deep messaging in there, and there's a poet that is coming in on that note to come and give his praise poetry. And poets are never alone, he's with his partner. Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome poet Pace. He goes by the name Pace. Mo pelele khofi.
Maria. Kado kutirata lalwana tantuna Masisi re ba le kwalo le mo Bible mo pelo re tsawa mo pedi wa lontone o ga kgamalela dineo tsao di filo matlo wana le ka monga me ka go rapela ka le wa le batana ke khubame ke re tautona mala wa jala o ile Dubai o ile ka mosita khona wa ba dira gatsi ba go setse morago ba go boka tautona wa re ke sitse go khala ka makgwe metsira tarai telaganong a re bo wa Dubai ra takale di la ponto le tletse pate Maria Malawajalo re butala tsoko mahatsa sele ka je kuri tlemo a tsela Botswana Maafrika mantshonyana ba phuthegetse mo gae la batho bantle ba phuthegetse mo a tsela Batswana ba goditse mollo maabane ntse le ba go tsamollo ka tsatsi la mosupolo wa ba ramollo le Tautona Masisi a ba kaetsa taba tsa botsedi ba bantse ga batshe a ba kaela taba tsa bokgale a re le kwa methabeng phuthiri ntse ala kwa Aripo mongame kana ra bo re le kwa batakgolo re kwa methabeng kana sipa kgolo masipa wa wa tsile go talosa mebala a re morana wa ka tjalo rapela putana mo Botswana le to bona jo ko betile ke ba simba ko ba tle go rola ka je ko ba nala Ramapo ya ko ina misase a tlego mongame o ne molala re go ne jo ko go ga Aripo mongame ka go rapela o ne mo etele dipele kana o ne mo nna tilo ha tsela Botswana le tsoga le ipoka ka wena le Ramapo kana o le sema mapoi tabe Maria Malawajalo Tautona o tsama mahatsale mongame gore ba palela Tsukuru a tauro le mekwele tletse mongame wa re tlisetsa dio dinte ka joko ke bona lo kgobokanye jaaka na le ditsalo a pele batsheng ke bona gona le batho ba sweu Tautona nna ke re dumela mongame ra sekgowa segolo a ko ba ntumedise mongame ke a itse o tabara good morning Duma Maria Musika fela tsontsho ka mongame ko le tsamaragala bata segolo sa etshokitsile kana tsa trade industry o itsa ka tsone mongame gompieno mawala mo sakeng wa ba ditshipi wa ba bo Aripo le bo sipa ga re sipa ke mmabatsa tsamagolo tshipa dikgolo dintsi tsotlhe mongame ke ka ba ke ta ka kgamelo etetse mashi ga tsokana ga dipula ga ya phaila makuka ke ta ba bopama mongame pula ko re nele tare nela report isitse Maafrika mantshonyana matile ba tshela Botswana kana ka je kuri bua kgwebo ke go itse Tautona o itse go buela ha tshela Botswana Tautona a re o tsena ko rekisa ha tshela Botswana malawa ke lebele ditshwantsho tsa motshikiyego ka gompieno re tle o bua le bone ba direga ka ditshwantsho tsa motshikiyego mongame ba go ntsha di mosetsa ke go bona kanye o ba neela po mongame o re a tsetana agriculture ye go dira sente mongame nna ba mphile pudi Tautona ka itse po time pa mongame ka repela Maria Maafrika mantshonyana nantare se morutu tsidi di Botswana ka ja kore tlalo tlhabela khomo tlhaba lo tole lo ntse bala modikwa dikwane le diale lona ka le tlora tla go sekhutsanyane ke tswa khakala le batho ba so mongame ke ba bone ba go China mongame ya re ke ba dumedisa mongame ke ri ni ha dumela ke a dumedisa Tautona wa ka kya go rapela ke go itsontse ra ba ruti ko dikereke bana ba khubama ka tsatsi la Sontaga ba re piovo va lwa pijeso a gore ka tsatsi la moletlo batho ba tsabele ha tshela Botswana ba putela mo ha tshela Botswana ba tla bona Tautona Masisi ngwana le ha tshudire ha tshela Botswana tsatsi le penne mongame a ropa ga mohane o ya kwa mongame ke itumela thata ke re wa go tla ka mekwele tletse Tautona ra se kwa se golo re a tsena kwa mongame ke mo lemogela ka mmala ke re ke Moafrika wa Botswana yo montle ka ja ko maAfrika ba mo phuthegetse ka kwano ba tlile go bua ka Aripo mongame IP gompieno tautona o tlile go e polisha a go we a ene mongame tautona ke itse go tshwara tema o go tshwara tema o lebe bolemete boleme bola ile ke tautona ga boko botsadi ba banka duma sebata Are le kwa khalagadi mongame tsamaela kwa sipadi ofisi di bulwe kwa mongame ba dira tsirana melo a tshela Botswana ba dira tsirana melo a tshela Botswana tautona kana mongame dilo dintle di bona ba kwa ga borone mme go le nteng dilo dintle di a teng tautona mongame ke go rapela batho ba Aripo mahatsha selekane ba phuthegetse ka kono Botswana go tla go masekano ka je kura maphoile phoile tlotse motlawe le a go gongwe ke mohutana wa masimo taya go gongwe ramaphoi mongame a konene ke tse thoma ke ra e gona ha ona le mongame ka fela dilo di tla tsamaya sentle duma Simba gori tshwarela moamoga tshwane le rutala yone o ile boga ka mogwang wa yona tota ne re sa go amoge ka ntwa ne le ka mahatsha a bonang go tsamaya ka teng ka ja kuri bua 19 session tautona o tsile mongame re mananeo mantera sekgowa setona tautona a na re ko dikereke mongame le mananeo a bosipa mongame ba ntsenya mo teng nama o ipele go rile leina la me le kgulwe ke system mongame o kompele re ke khutsana mongame Rata go se khutshanyane tautona kyalaela ke gona ke re ke ngwana ga matokwane na le ntshona le motsele ba lapo montshwa ba ngolo ga mo ga ta e manna e re basadi ba tlola ba tsole makgabe goodbye
Beautiful stuff, amazing stuff. You don't have to understand Setswana. Language is universal. Beautiful rendition, praise poetry at its best. Mo pele le go file le ngwa. What a befitting way to usher in our president. Ladies and gentlemen, we rise as I call to the podium His Excellency, President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. MOKGWEETSI MASISI for the keynote address.
Thank you very much. Kindly take your seats. The Director of Ceremonies, Mr. Benson Putero, Deputy Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Lesotho, Honorable Justice Ntomeng Majara, the Host Minister, Minister Kafela, Director General, WIPO, Darantine, the Chairperson of Aripo Council of Ministers, and Minister for Legal Affairs Justice and Legal Affairs in Zimbabwe, Honorable Zambi. Honorable Ministers from Aripo, Member States, other ministers from Botswana here present, Permanent Secretary of the President, Permanent Secretaries here present, Chairperson of the Administrative Council of Aripo, Joel Ramapoi, and the DG for Aripo, Mr. Bimanya Twabeza, members of the Council, distinguished government and observers of Aripo, members of the media, the creatives, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. Today, as many have said, is a great day. It pleases me to address this 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, Aripo. The theme, IP for Economic Growth, resonates very well with Botswana's vision to become a high-income country anchored on a knowledge-based economy by the year of our Lord 2036. Allow me to share with you that for some time now, we've been working on transforming the economy of Botswana from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-based one. We have since realized that intellectual property cannot be left to the sidelines if this is to become a reality. Therefore, the convening of this important session of Council of Ministers could not have come at a more appropriate time. And much as I say it in respect of what we have experienced in Botswana, there is no difference between us and you, from whichever country you come from in Africa. I'd like you to take a mental leap back in time and think of creations, innovations, and designs that rural African communities used on a daily basis. So think of your parents, think of your grandparents or great-grandparents. Think of the folklore you heard as you grew up. Our forefathers composed songs, they composed other creations and continuously improved their livelihoods. And they also came up with solutions and implements to improve their agriculture, their food, their health, their environmental, their spiritual, and industrial practices. I believe that you'll agree with me that Africans have been trading and practicing intellectual property from time immemorial, even though they did so without the express knowledge of its theories, its principles, and terminology. Distinguished guests, I'm reliably informed that among Aripo member states, and with the support of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Tanzania, and of course Botswana carried out studies to measure the economic contributions of copyright industries. I urge all of you to look those studies up and see, imagine where you stand. In all instances, it is found that the creative sector competes well with traditional sectors in its contribution to the gross domestic product and employment. The contribution to the GDP ranges between 3.46 to 5.46%, while with regard to employment, it stood between 2.66 to 5.63%. My question is, as Aripo member states, how do we ensure that we grow and reap maximum benefits from this sector, this low-hanging fruit sector? Distinguished delegates, just recently, the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe. This led to innovations birthed within the short space of time to save humanity. In our own countries, our people came up with hand sanitizers, sanitizer dispensers, and some scientists researched the virus with a view to coming up with treatment. On the contrary, when looking at the 2022 and 2023 Global Innovation Index, it is glaringly evident that we, as Africans, are generally not doing well. It is, however, commendable that 10 Aripo member states among African countries are subjected to the Global Innovation Index assessment. And I am particularly pleased that Botswana attained third place in sub-Saharan Africa. Don't be too much in a hurry to be pleased with that, because it's a comparison among us who are at the bottom end of doing what we do. So remain dissatisfied, and with that, propel yourself to go and catch up yesterday, so you can undo the applause for that. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, the point that I'm putting across is that Africa has always been coming up with new inventions. Africa has always been creating arts and music, and Africa has always been designing products. We are still innovating and creating protectable intellectual property works. Therefore, we need to introspect and see what we are not doing right that hinders our creativity from growing to global standards and impacting our communities and the world. The assessment of our shortcomings and corrective measures should begin with national IP offices. After this, we would then step up to Aripo level to strategize and unblock bottlenecks. We have since capacitated our people and institutions to generate IP and to administer its laws. We took it further to establish the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, Aripo, in recognition of the fact that in unity we can achieve more. 22 members from 54 countries in Africa. Problem. And I was shocked this morning to be told that this is the Council of Ministers that has realized the highest number of ministers responsible for intellectual property attending. I think you have a big task ahead of you. You do your job, ministers, I will do mine. Let's go and whip our colleagues into line. Let's go and whip our colleagues into line. Whip your colleague ministers into line. And don't say it, but I'll work on the presidents. I can't say that I'm going to whip them into line, but I will work on it. Because it is unfathomable that in this day and age, when IP presents such a golden opportunity to more than leapfrog at lowest cost, we remain laggards, global laggards. This is irrefragable. So, I offer myself to do my bit. And I can assure you, Aripo, as I told you when we had a little chat this morning, as I told the DG, not just in Geneva, in New York, and virtually, and yesterday, and I tell you today, you will not find Botswana wanting. We are going to be the biggest supporters of Aripo. We intend to be the biggest supporters of WIPO from Africa. And like I told my cabinet and my citizens, we're going to invest big time in R&D, in research, in innovation. And we're going to begin to measure our success by the sheer number and the impact of IP and the products that we generate out of that monthly. So, Mr. Caretaker, your work is cut out for you. Distinguished delegates, I mean, just pause for a moment and imagine if it was among African countries that invented Moderna. And then there would be a reverse of the hue and cry about hoarding and price and, imagine that. Imagine we invented Pfizer vaccine. Imagine that. I don't see why we should not. When we are the bearers in Africa of the largest repository of natural resources, most of which are used in the composition of new products, when we are the bearers of the greatest size of a growing, youthful, alert, astute population in the world, and promise for that to be for a long time. The talent, the latent talent, potential is here, and we cannot not harness it. So I urge you to go back to your capitals and go and double the budgets that you spend, treble the budget that you spent on IP. If your presidents or your governments ask you how it's done, ask them to take a look south or north in Botswana right here. They must come and benchmark and see how we do it. We will do it and show you. Distinguished delegates, it's commendable that 3 years shy of 50 years, we achieved a lot through Aripo. It is heartwarming that Aripo has adopted and is implementing regional IP protocols. is collaborating with universities and other cooperating partners to offer IP master's degree programs. This is for the speech. I said something else to you this morning. We'll keep it between ourselves. The continuous capacity building is applaudable. Expanding Aripo headquarters and many other achievements are also worth celebrating. Most importantly, Aripo now stands at 22 member states and growing, I'd hope, at a rate you will make public soon. My encouragement, therefore, is that let us continue bringing other countries on board. Honorable Ministers, I'm personally passionate about traditional knowledge systems, and my cabinet knows so. I believe that they form a foundation for African innovation, especially when you look at the knowledge built around genetic resources, be it for agriculture, food, health, or environmental purposes. I want to see Botswana leveraging this wealth of knowledge and making it relevant and useful for today's society. And yes, generating systems, services, products, and income. And yes, sharing with our brethren throughout Africa on how we do what we do. We put together building blocks for this to happen by ensuring that traditional knowledge initiatives are at the forefront of our national intellectual property policy implementation projects, which include promoting research and development in traditional knowledge practices in order to establish a pharmaceutical industry in Botswana. I therefore challenge you, honorable ministers, to also ignite the same passion in your own countries. Distinguished guests, I am informed that of the 5 technical protocols that Aripo member states have adopted, implementation is in full swing for the rest of them except the Sokopmund Protocol for the protection of traditional knowledge and expressions of folklore, which came into force in 2015. It is important that all protocols move at the same pace. I therefore urge the Aripo Secretariat and the Administrative Council to reflect on the bottlenecks that come up with transformative strategies to change the status quo. Dear guests, given the scale of our ambitions to use IP as a catalyst for growth and development, I implore you to ensure that you firmly play a leading role in the African Continental Free Trade Area, Phase 2 negotiations which prioritize intellectual property rights. In order to increase your knowledge, expertise, and resources, I'd also like to urge you to harness synergies with member states, regional economic communities, and the African Union Commission. And yes, yesterday I assured DG Tang that I would, in the space I find, urge the leadership of the AU as the second vice chair of the Count Bureau to embrace IP, to embrace Aripo, to embrace WIPO. Honorable Ministers, let us remember that one of the strengths of unity is learning from each other for accelerated achievement of our respective goals. In 2011, the Botswana Parliament approved the establishment of the Companies and Intellectual Property Authority, CIPA, as an autonomous body. As government, we are proud of this decision because we see its impact, including an improvement in efficiency and in revenue generation. In conclusion, allow me to recognize the role that the World Intellectual Property Organization plays in the development of Africa's IP system, and particularly to recognize this refreshed, energized, astute, and well-resourced Director General and his staff. For he clearly is a complete refreshment of what we have known WIPO to be in the recent past. And never waste an opportunity, Africans. While he's there, while he's here, while he's doing what he's doing, let us harvest and harness everything we can from him and his team. They remain committed and ready to support us. It is delightful that a strong collaborative partnership exists between WIPO and Aripo as we see it today. Certainly, as member states of both organizations, we have benefited separately and jointly from the synergies that both institutions forge. Director General Tang, on behalf of Aripo member states, we wish to express our profound gratitude for the support that you, personally, and with your team, and WIPO member states have extended to us. We pledge our continued support towards achieving the mandate of WIPO. The same gratitude goes to all cooperating partners here present. Honorable Ministers and dear delegates, I'm honored to declare the 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization officially open, and Pula, as we say in Botswana.
Another resounding round of applause for His Excellency. Thank you so much, Mongaruna. Moving right ahead, there's always a thank you. So I want to believe that I should be calling African Regional Intellectual Property Organization Director General, Bemanya Tobaze. There's a thank you that you need to bestow unto our president. Please come to the stage, sir. And if you are ready with it, please bring it forth. I don't know, maybe you would like to speak to it, come closer to the mic.
Your Excellency, the President, it's my honor on behalf of African Regional Intellectual Property Organization to present to you this infinity carving from Zimbabwe, Aripo. Thank you.
Beautiful. A round of applause, please. If your interest is to have the president lift that and train, just know that the president is already training, he's already fit. So I don't know, it looks very weighty, and I'm also interested in its monetary value, that beautiful, beautiful, what do you call it again? Infinity. Yeah, okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And I want to believe that His Excellency the President also has a thank you to bestow to Aripo. Your Excellency.
As one head of state was once famously quoted, I will revenge.
From Aripo to the president, from the president to Aripo. Talk about revenging. And that's a beautiful painting given by the president. And that painting was made by a young Motswana painter, a young Motswana artist by the name of Hwemione Mudisane. I'm not sure how young they are, but I'm told they're very young. I don't know if they'll be able to vote next year. But if they're not of age, I think that's a waiver. They'll be able to vote. Intellectual property, many opportunities that it presents, and that is why you see even young people coming in, even the painting itself. And earlier the poet is all the way from Tsane. Tsane is miles, hundreds of miles away from the capital city, from the very rural villages where you even find talent in superabundance. So it's an inclusive economy. Nobody's left behind. A round of applause for all that, ladies and gentlemen. Now is your time, the host minister. They say in Setswana there's an epigrammatic expression to say, he who speaks or delivers last is royal or is king. And is it irony because he has blue blood? Mongame, the minister, honorable minister of trade and industry, Musi Kafela, for the vote of thanks. Please give him a round of applause.
Thank you very much, Mr. Benson Puteho. Please, my apologies for that theatrical entrance. When Mr. Puteho pronounced, we all thought that he was inviting a vote of thanks. I saw the Director General was struck with a bit of paralysis. He looked at me. I was equally struck with paralysis. My apologies. We are very attentive to language. A slight word can get us to do that which, when we were growing up, about the story of MOKGWEETSI, those who know it. Please allow me, Excellency, to be ultra-conservative with time and dispense with the meticulous navigation through our protocol and simply stand by the protocol, Your Excellency, which you pronounced. I salute you all. Folks, please join me in expressing a debt of gratitude to His Excellency, the President, Dr. MOKGWEETSI Eric Gabitz Masisi, for Your Excellency having set aside time in your epic schedule of leading the country to come and grace this occasion and open this 19th session of Council of Ministers for us. For that, Your Excellency, we thank you profoundly. We have heard you with crystal clarity on what should occur going forward. We have our marching orders, Your Excellency. Your coming here this morning is an indication to us of the priority which you place intellectual property and the generation of income or the growth of the economy through its use. I should also thank, without any order of importance, ladies and gentlemen, the Regional Intellectual Property Organization for having at the 18th session, which was held in Victoria Falls, chosen Botswana as the first vice, which traditionally meant that all following meetings of the organization would then take place in Botswana going forward, and the tradition being that we would then take over the baton of being the chairperson, for which I'm delighted to do later on today. We thank you profoundly for having put this work together, and I must also thank you, sir, with your Director General, together with your team, who worked meticulously and with such great dexterity acquitted themselves. It's on account of that we have this event today has seen the light of day. Let me also thank profoundly the Director General of the World Intellectual Property Organization, Mr. Darren Tang, for having, against all prospects of travel fatigue, journeyed all the way here to come and grace this occasion and impart knowledge, and much of which we have already, since you came, started assimilating. We thank you profoundly, sir, together with your deputy, for having come through to this event. I'd like to also thank you, the chairperson of the Council of Ministers, for having led this council over the years when you were conferred with this responsibility. It has been a success. A lot more has to be done, as you've heard His Excellency, the President has pronounced upon us to do. But we thank you profoundly, sir, for your leadership during the time when you were heading this council. I'd like also to thank the CIPA, the Companies and Intellectual Property Authority, and the chair-elect, who at present, the Aripo Administrative Council, Mr. Joe Ramapoy, and your team, for the hard work which went into this, and all the errands which your team ran day in and day out to put this event into the success to which we are now seeing this morning. We have our partners who I've had the pleasure to acquaint myself with on Monday when they appeared here. We'd like to thank you too for the assistance you have rendered to Aripo, in which you are continuing to render up to now. And as I draw to conclusion, let me thank particularly those who sunk their hands to the depth of their pockets to assist us financially in order to put this event. I should thank the National Agricultural Research and Development Institute, the Selebe Pikwe Economic Development Unit, the Silo Group, and I should also thank the Gambling Authority, all of you who have contributed to this event. I also thank the Director of Ceremonies for having provided his services in kind, as well as the Brando Kiabilwe, who too have offered their services in kind to this event. I thank my cabinet ministers who I see here present, who have graced the occasion to give it the success which it deserves. Fellow ministers from the Aripo member states, I do thank you for having journeyed all the way here to this beautiful city, Gaborone, to come and join us in this this historic moment. And lastly, Bagaetso, we owe a debt of gratitude to our media for playing an important role in ensuring that our words get disseminated across the length and breadth of this country and beyond. For the work that you have offered to us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to invite all of you to applaud ourselves, applaud our partners, applaud His Excellency the President, especially for the tone which has been set for this 19th session of the Aripo Council of Ministers, which is held here in Gaborone. Let us join hands to applaud ourselves, please. Your Excellency, we are quite mindful and attentive to the pronouncement that we should change, Are Changing, and we are committed to living up to that, and we will improve in the attendance, Your Excellency, of our member states to these, to this Aripo gatherings. And I thank you for your attention.
Let us thank Honorable for thanking everybody. From thanking the President, all the stakeholders, all the sponsors, Spedu Gambling Authority, NADIS, Desai Law Group, Afripia, Adams and Adams, everybody. We thank you so much, and mostly to Tautona. When we try thanking you, those who speak English, they would say we run out of superlatives in trying to show our gratitude. So one more time, Tautona, thank you for being ever present. These are interesting times. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be having at this point a photo session, well choreographed. I'm the one directing it now. I don't know who scripted it, whether it's Wipo, Aripo, Sipa. There's a script writer, there's a producer, but I'm the director. This is how we're going to do it. We have 9 takes. The first take will be His Excellency and WIPO Director General. I know you took pictures yesterday, but you're not here. So since you are here, we want to capture the moment and document and make sure we create these memories lest we forget. So the second set, ladies and gentlemen, I'll announce it. At this point, let's have His Excellency and WIPO DG for a photo shoot. Couple of seconds. And I'm going to humbly request the President to remain, and thank you, sir. I'll call you again for the second or third installment. Let me now call Aripo Director General, Mr. Bemanya Tobaze with HE. Thank you so much. And then let me invite Honorable Musi Kafela, Minister of Trade and Industry, Chairperson of Aripo Council of Ministers, Minister of Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs from Zimbabwe, Honorable Ziyambi. And while they're all there, while you remain, please remain. Let me invite DG. Please come, join them.
This winds up the official opening of the 19th session of the Council of Ministers of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization, which of course kick-started this morning. And of course it has, really did start on Monday with a series of events and different dialogues and conversations. But today was the official opening, which was of course done by His Excellency Dr. MOKGWEETSI. And there's so many takeaways to get, obviously, from what was said. He did reiterate Botswana's stance and posture in ensuring optimization of IP systems to develop or to drive a sustainable development, and of course Botswana's knowledge-based economy quest. And maybe just to not take too much time, I do have with me Dr. Graham Mhlakaza, who of course is the head of human capital and administration at Aripo, just to give us a few insights as to the different conversations today. Good morning, Dr. Mhlakaza. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and for hosting us. Yep.
Exciting times for Africa, exciting times for the 22 member states who, of course, affiliated to Aripo. What are the biggest takeaways from this week and, of course, just from today's official opening?
Excellent. Thank you so much. You raised two important issues. You're asking about the takeaways for this week. We started our meetings on Monday. We had the Honorable Minister of Industry coming through to open our proceedings. That was the Administrative Council of Aripo. Mainly two issues that we tackled: technical issues in respect of intellectual property. The Administrative Council comprises heads of IP offices in our 22 member states. They deliberated on issues relating to the performance of our protocols, because our work is governed by the protocols. We have the Harare Protocol on patents, industrial designs, and utility models. We have the Banjul Protocol on the protection of trademarks. We have the Swakopmund Protocol on the protection of issues to do with traditional knowledge. We acknowledge the statements made by His Excellency Dr. MASISI this morning, where he emphasized the importance of traditional knowledge in driving the IP agenda for Botswana and for the continent at large. So the Administrative Council received important updates on that. Then they also tackled the administrative aspects, corporate governance issues of the organizations, our strategy, where we are. We have a 2022 to 2026 strategy. How far have we gone? What are the challenges? What are the prospects? What have been the achievements? Notably, our finances have been growing over the last 3 years at a tremendous rate. We are talking in the region of 10 to 20% year-on-year increases. Patent applications are on an upward spiral, and we are so excited about the prospects of the organization, notwithstanding the fact that we need to strengthen our governance, our compliance, audit issues. We received unqualified reports regarding our people. They are the drivers of the strategy. There are a lot of improvements that the Council approved. So from the Administrative Council, we are now with the Council of Ministers, which we have been privileged that it has been opened by His Excellency the President of the Republic. Some of the issues he raised, I've already talked about traditional knowledge, the issue of the knowledge-based economy. The world revolves around IP, with the Industrial Revolution, with the Agricultural Revolution. Now we are in the knowledge-based economy. So the question is, how best can Africa position itself in the IP space to ensure that our ideas are protected? What are we doing in terms of the work of the creative industries, the copyrights, those that are doing their works, artistic works? We need to do a lot as Africa, because there's a lot of potential that lies within the IP space, employment creation, and its contribution to the gross domestic product of our economies. And we believe that Africa really is the future. If you look at the composition of our population, much of our population is the youth, and the youth are the future. So as Aripo, we are here to ensure that we harness our nationals from the various countries in order that they can create economic value in their different spaces. Then as Aripo, we are continuing with our drive to attract more membership. As you might have heard, we now stand at 22 member states, but we are looking at expanding our membership so that our voice on the continent, we are able to coordinate our activities as a continent in order that we push through the economic development agenda of Africa, aligning even with the broader perspectives that are coming through the African Union. Thank you.
And maybe just to appreciate the membership aspect of things, and of course the benefits of being affiliated to Aripo. You're talking wanting to expand beyond obviously 22. How many are we looking at in terms of what is the goal at this point?
Indeed, our goal is actually to have each and every country on the continent becoming part of the African continent, of the African Regional Intellectual Property Organization. Of course, there are certain dynamics that we have to follow. The pace may be slow, but we believe it can be made faster if we really present ourselves as the most preferred regional intellectual property system. So in terms of the advantages that we pose or that we present to potential member states is that when you come to a regional system, it brings about efficiency, because one application through Aripo, you can then designate various member states to grant you that protection. So there is no need for an applicant sitting somewhere to be going to individual countries to seek protection. So we are saying as Aripo, this system has to bring those efficiencies and convenience for our various users across the globe.
And in terms of the Aripo strategy, the 4-year strategy that you have in place, you did mention the value of young people obviously taking up, space in this, IP ecosystem. To what extent are we seeing them being engaged in the innovation, which of course is an untapped, expression, if you may? There was mention of the Global Innovation Index not doing very well. African countries are not doing as well as they should be, given the potential that they have. To what extent are young people being engaged in this space to leverage opportunities? I mean, we're living in the digital era, and young people mostly take up a lot of space in the digital space.
Yeah, the engagements is basically in two parts. The first part is the work that we are doing in terms of capacity building. We go around the various member states with various programs. We look at innovation centers, we look at research and development institutions, we look at universities, whereby we go in there and preach the gospel of intellectual property and the value that it can create to our various economies. So that's the approach that we are taking. And there is lobbying again to see how best we can see our educational institutions incorporating IP at the very lowest level, even primary education, secondary education, and high school, so that when we have that awareness, we can then be able to carry along our youths as they seek to protect their inventions.
Right, Dr. Mhlakazi, I'm going to have to end it here. Thank you so much for your insights and, of course, for sharing with us your biggest takeaways from this session.
Excellent. It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
And of course, this brings us to the end of this conversation. That was Dr. Graham Mhlakazi, who of course is the head of Human Capital and Administration at Aripo. And of course, this brings us to the end of this official opening. And of course, this event will continue until tomorrow, bringing in obviously different conversations around what the IP ecosystem has to hold and how African countries, the 22 who of course are affiliated to Aripo, stand to benefit from the ecosystem. And of course, developing Africa, the Africa that we want. I'm Utsidile Nkabetse, and of course, this is how we end it.
And with that, we come to the end of the Daybreak this
Dumela batswana betso. Oike Calvin Pukunzi wa Calvin Investment. Mme se re tlo buang ka sone tsatsi la gompieno ke mo re go bitsa re ke money mentalities. Gore re le batho re kgaogantswe ka group tse 5. Gona le mo go bidiwang gotwe ba ba kobo dikhutshwane ba ba go tlase ba ileng gore ba tshela day to day mentality. Ga bo go nna ba ba latelang ba week to week mentality. Go nna le ba month to month mentality. Go nna le ba year to year mentality and decade to decade mentality. pharologanyo ya batho ba keng ba lebella madi ka go sa tshwaneng le ka di-mentality tse ba nang le tsone mme ano ga o lebella group ya ntlha e re bitsa re ke group 1 ya day to day mentality ke batho ba e leng gore dikakanyo tsa bone di felela mo letsatsing sengwe le sengwe se o se buang le bone o tla utlwa ntse a re ka moso nkgantele la ga o adima madi mo go ene o gore a re o tla ntuela leng